What's going on, YouTube? This is Jim Afanis, and I thought I'd talk a little bit today about some of the things that I think Overwatch needs to be careful of. Now, I know that this game is still in beta, and Blizzard does an amazing job with betas. Most of their betas are actually better than final game releases because Blizzard does an amazing job at polish and attention to detail. And I was playing Heroes of the Storm Alpha, and I was ready to just have that game launch live, and it was almost a year later before it came out. So keep in mind that this is still in beta, subject to change. Obviously, the things could change overnight. Obviously, they're still developing the game. I mean, they're not ready to ship the game in this state. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it still needs a little bit of polish and work. Okay. First thing, playlist variety. This game needs more modes. There's not really a lot of modes right now in this game. I understand that it being team-based, maybe a team deathmatch may not make the most sense, but at the same time, I can't see it hurting putting that mode in there. Right now, everything is very objective-based, attack, defend, or, kind of like push the payload type thing, which is really just another variant of attack and defend. The maps themselves are great. I really like the detail into the maps. I really like the layout of the maps. There's multiple routes for different characters, whether you're ground-based or whether you can hover a little bit, or Widowmaker with the grappling hook, or Lucio with the wall running. There's definitely more than one route to get to one place to another, which I think that level of detail lends itself well. But unfortunately, when you're just doing attacking and defending, a lot of that detail is lost because you're just running straight for the objective as fast as possible, and you're not really taking time to kind of flank and find these alternate routes. So it'd be nice to see some more playlist variety going forward, and I'm sure they're going to be working on something, but that's the first one. The second one is the model shift from free-to-play to purchasing. I don't have an objection to that. Both free-to-play and purchasing a game outright definitely have their own advantages and disadvantages. When you get into a microtransaction-based model that you've already paid for, you end up making a game like Evolve, which absolutely tanked. I'm not saying that Overwatch is going to go that overboard with the ability or the rationale or whatever you want to say, and just, this isn't a bad thing for the game. But the reality is, if people are paying money for it, you got to kind of keep that stuff to a minimum, and that's what worries me, because this game really lends itself extremely well to gun skins, character skins. And I just caution that, Blizzard needs to confirm that, choose the model and stick with it. And obviously now that they've switched over from this mode, you're going to kind of be locked into it, because people aren't going to start spending tons of money on microtransaction if they're already putting $40 down on a base game. Now, obviously, the advantage of that is everybody's going to be on a level playing field in terms of heroes, and a lot of the quote-unquote vanity items, whether they be gun or character skins, will not affect core gameplay. So in that sense, you have a nice tournament-type based system that's already out of the box. But, take a look at Heroes of the Storm, and Heroes of the Storm has done the same thing. So, and that's a free-to-play game. So I guess I just caution Blizzard, it's easy with a game like this in this unique world to start mixing and matching, crazy skins, but they're going to have to keep that to a minimum now that they've converted to that model. Number 3, there are some heroes that have amazing abilities, such as Symmetra's Teleporter, and I think that is a really, really cool ability. The problem is that it's absolutely required to have her in any type of competitive game, because when you die, you are so far back from the defend point or the attack point that you really need somebody like that. And I think that they're kind of, hurting themselves by forcing people to have a Symmetra or a Lucio with those buffs or teleports that get you to the action faster if you want to truly remain competitive. Otherwise, you could see the walk that I'm doing here. It's a good 10 to 15 seconds. Obviously, I'm doing a little detour and shooting around, but it's a 10 to 15 second, to get back to the beginning. That's a really long time. You're out of the action for a long time. And I understand it. You want to punish players for dying. It shouldn't just be instant spawn like where you stand or anything like that. I'm not implying that. But what I'm saying is that these long walks are just kind of like, they take the fun out of the game. And yes, you say you have heroes to kind of fix that, but unfortunately, you kind of bottleneck players into choosing those heroes if they want to remain competitive. I would recommend Symmetra's Teleporter goes away, and they just move spawn points closer and give Symmetra something else. And I think Lucio's speed buff works fine for most instances and can be used adequately. I don't think that one needs to go. But having a closer spawn point would totally change it. So why have a bad mechanic and then have one character who's the only counter to that? And then, you know, kind of indicate to the player that, oh, well, you know, you can kind of play any kind of mode you want. You can do whatever you want, when the reality is you not necessarily can. So I hope they keep that in mind. The next one I have is some of the options in the game. And again, I know this is beta. But there needs to be a little more. The graphic settings in this game are very in-depth. V-Sync and, you know, buffering and all different kind of particle effects and everything. You can really fine-tune it. There's 5 different settings. They're a little arbitrary in what they mean, but at least you know there is, like, you know, obviously, like, medium is better than low, high is better than medium, that sort of thing. And that's good for customizing that, but there's a lack of this detail in the music section and the sound section. I'm not really sure why. Right now there's just a master volume slider and like a voice over IP slider, and I think there should be a little more in depth there. Speakers or audio type. Now, maybe these options haven't been implemented yet, and that's why they're not in the options interface. I'd be shocked if they didn't come, but it seems like a really big oversight early on because it's just, they're missing. And it's weird when the music's blaring and you want to lower just part of that and hear some of the game volume, and you really can't. So I hope they beef up some of the sound settings just a little bit. The last one is one that I'm kind of torn about, but I do think it is a negative mark, and that's the whole play of the game mechanic. So right now, at the end of each game, you get this play of the game mechanic, and what ends up happening there is when the game ends, regardless of the winning team or the losing team, they will show a replay of somebody doing something. And right now, it is 100% bias towards offensive players. So what you end up having happen is all the plays of the game are people doing like insane ulti kills, like whether it be McCree's High Noon or Pharah's like Rocket Barrage or something. Those are two of the ones that I seem to happen a lot, or even Bastion jumping into tank mode. You have that as where, you know, that's the only metric, and it's like, well, you know, it kind of instills this false sense of offense matters more than anything. And I can tell you, after playing this game for quite some time, it is definitely a very, very versatile team-based game that requires healers and even characters like Mei. I mean, like, what I'm doing right now, not necessarily, you know, getting tons and tons of kills, but this kind of disruption, this is what's slowing these guys down. Putting these ice walls in stupid places and, you know, turtling myself in and blocking doorways and everything, that buys 5-10 seconds here and there, and it does add up definitely over the course of a 5-minute match. So what I'm saying is that, you know, they need to, I think, either tweak that system or just flat out eliminate it, because it really does just emphasize the offensive portion of this game. And if they want to do that, okay. I don't know how you could, you know, like, for example, with me putting an ice wall, let's say it's a 2-on-3, for example. I'm with somebody else and we're losing a 2-on-3 engagement. And I can put an ice wall down and separate it, so now it's suddenly a 2-on-1 engagement. 2 of the enemies are on the other side of the ice wall. And as a result, we can take one enemy down, and now it's a 2-on-2 fight, and maybe we end up pulling off and winning that fight. I don't know how the game would recognize that it was my ice wall that did that, because that was a good play and I was able to keep us alive instead of being a complete wipe. However, you know, I don't know how the game does that, but that to me is more of a play of a game than somebody just spamming like an ultimate, you know. So that's just something I think they should consider going forward in the future. But all in all, I mean, I listed 5 gripes, and I got to be honest, I had a hard time coming up with them, because I think this game is really, really well for what it is trying to be. This very team-based, competitive shooter type. There's so many different ways to play this game outside of the traditional just grab a rocket launcher, grab a machine gun, and just kill enemies. And there are those heroes in the game. Soldier 76 definitely excels at that. You have, you know, the healer's healer with Mercy. I mean, there are those kind of like predefined. Reinhardt's definitely a very like detailed type tank character. But there are so many other unique characters. And in my next video, I want to talk about my top 5 characters who really make this game shine. that are just so unique and so different, but actually work. Very versatile in terms of like the gameplay mechanics that they offer, and just the you know, how they interact with the battlefield and make it different. So 5 things I think they could work on. Yeah, I've listed those here. Again, it's still in beta, so keep that in mind. Anyways, I'm going to go back and play some more Overwatch because this game is absolutely amazing. I want to thank you guys for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.